All right, welcome to a special, super special edition of Mental Health Mondays Live. I am, of course, Myndrunner, sometimes known as Aaron, but I have assembled, call me Nick Fury, because I have assembled the Avengers of positivity on social media. So fortunate to have these folks in here. I'm talking about these four very dear souls, friends of mine and friends of yours, I'm sure. And if they're not friends of yours, fix that today because they are an inspiration. Each one of them an inspiration in their own right. And make sure that if you're not following them on X, if you're not engaging with them, do so because it will better your life and you'll be happy for it. First up, of course, is my co-host for Positive Mynds. It is none other than Positively Chris. He's also the host of Ignite That Light. Chris, how you doing? Long time no see. All right, Chris is doing fantastic. Thank you, Chris. Also joining us, she is the co-host of the Writer's Block, one of the premier spaces on X. It is a eclectic gathering of aspiring authors and published authors. We talk about everything from character development, getting published. She is the person to go to if you are a starting out scribe, not just books, but if you are a journalist, if you are a blog poster, if you are just looking to better your writing with your engagement posts, Stephanie from King Ari Press is the person you want to go, or if you just want some positivity in your life. Stephanie, how you doing?
Good. Thanks for letting me be here. That was a lot to live up to. I don't know if I do, but
all
hey.
Sure. Tell me where I'm lying. Tell me where I'm lying. I'm not lying at all.
I mean, let's just try it. Like, okay. People may have different opinions.
No, we'll see. We'll see. I think 99.9% of the internet agrees with me. Now, speaking of agreeing with my assessment, you've heard his voice on all of our narrations. You've heard him on multiple spaces. He also, not only is he the Don Pardo, the Shadow Stevens, he is the Morgan Freeman of sponsorship on all social media platforms, but he is voted by Pet Magazine. He is the #1 social media doggy daddy of the entire interwebs, with his Old English Bulldog Duke, who is the official mascot of multiple spaces on X. I'm talking about the Stash Dash King, Benjamin. Ben, how are you doing? Thanks for joining us today.
Hey, I just really appreciate you guys having me on, and it's great to talk to you guys and see you guys. I can't wait for this phenomenal conversation. Thanks for having me up.
Absolutely. Boy, that velvet voice just, makes me want to buy things. We need to get him to speak about, we almost need to get him to talk about a certain line of cosmetics. Now, if only there was somebody we knew that had a line of cosmetics that, oh, wait a minute, how about Amber Champagne? Not only is she the CEO of Ethyst Cosmetics, it's more than cosmetics. I mean, it's skincare line. It's basically the fountain of youth in these products. I don't know. She's got a well-kept secret. She probably found the fountain of youth and she's just mixing it in with her chemicals. But she is also the host of a number of awesome spaces, including the Champagne Room. She hosts a improv space on the weekends, as well as Sips and Stories, I think Sunday nights. But I'm talking about the queen of engagement on social media, Amber Champagne. Amber, thanks for joining us.
Are you kidding me? Thanks for having me. I'm excited to have a chat with you guys. This is going to be great. This is like a little fun. In my world, this is like a friends panel. We're all just like getting together to talk about stuff that we like to talk about. And I'm excited. So thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Twist my arm. We're going to talk about positivity on social media. Go figure. And it's, this is going to be the opposite of those panel discussions where they're arguing about war in the Middle East or who blew up what or what's going on with the vaccine. This is the opposite. This is going to be good vibes and everything. So the way we're going to, yes, I like that. Very cool. Love fireworks and everything. So what
Whoa.
we'll do here, we'll get some confetti. Yay! And there's nothing but love in this whole thing.
Wow.
And sometimes a little bit of laughs too. All right. So the way it's going to work is we do want to have the topic, but again, if our conversation goes off the rails, oh well, I mean, that's what we're talking about. And we've got Kelspiration already chiming in. Happy beautiful Monday. Happy Monday, beautiful people. Love the positivity this beautiful Monday. Thank you, Kelspiration. I've got Courtney Holland. Hey, everyone. She is the Scully to my Mulder, by the way. We co-host on Dynamite Download together. She's awesome. So all this positivity is good stuff. And I really love this because that's one of the things that we feel that often social media gets a bad rap for is a lot of the negativity that we hear. So I want to throw a question out to you all is, like, what have been some positives that you've experienced or that you see with social media that to counterbalance a lot of the negative, like people complaining about social media? And Stephanie, I want to go to you first. What have been some benefits and positives about like platforms like X and other social media?
Well, honestly, just the fact that we're here. I mean, I think the fact that it's not like you gathered random people. Like we actually all kind of know each other and hang out. Like the fact that happens is pretty amazing. Super cool. But also just like I'll get people will kind of come up to me and weirdly like that I'll say something that's meaningful, and you don't always know what's going on in somebody's life, and I think it's really easy to miss a lot in this kind of platform. And because you don't know, like impact really does matter. And so like how you're impacting should matter, like the way that you engage with people and just being sensitive to the fact that you don't know really what's going on. I mean, people don't know what's going on in my life, the same, and it can be hard. And when somebody like can reach out and say that really encouraged me or that really like supported me, like that to me is really awesome. And I know there's been so many people that have returned that to me as well. And they don't know what's going on in my life, but just their kindness to me, it's sometimes overwhelming, to be honest, like beautifully so. And so if I can receive it and if I can hear that I've done that to others, that's the world I want to build online. Like that's the community I want to have. And I think it's possible because I don't really see a lot of the other stuff, but that takes a lot of concerted effort to focus in on the people that are positive and not focus on the other stuff. And so you do kind of have to have like, horse with side blinders is my view. Don't look to the right or the left, but just focus on what's in front of you. And if what's in front of me is like those good things that I'm striving for, then I miss a lot of the stuff that's out in the peripheral. And I think that's important for me mentally, socially. I love it. And I love this community. These people are awesome.
Back at you. I mean, this is the Avengers of positivity on social media. And Ben, I want to go to you next. I mean, the great stuff. I agree with everything Stephanie said. Do you feel like sometimes things get lost in translation on social media? And more so, like, what do you feel? What have you experienced in a positive way with like platforms like X? And I mean, aside from the community that you are so much a part of.
Yeah, I think about you guys, right? When I came back to X, I met you all, and it's been the joy of my life. And I wouldn't have it any other way. I wouldn't change it for anything else. And it's because this community gave me so much. This community gave me a group of friends that I can kind of interact with, and I can kind of get the better understanding of how kind the world can be. Right. Kindness is everything, and positivity. We all need it in our lives. Right. And this is the group that, transcends all. So I feel like, this is the best thing to ever happen for me. It's when I came back to X, I knew I belonged, and I knew I could do something for the platform. And it's why I strive so hard to continue moving that kindness and positivity moving forward. And, it's been the joy of my life, like I kind of mentioned earlier, but I just love you guys, and I just appreciate being here. And let's keep this going. Let's keep the positivity going. The whole world needs it. We can't get enough. And that's what I can that's from my mindset. But I will also say that X is the best platform that I've ever been on. It's the platform that, we all met on Spaces and we all interacted so well and we all got along, right? We all, have this huge friendship and, we wouldn't have had this on any other platform. So, man, I love X, but more importantly, I love you guys.
We love you too, Ben. And again, that I love that your comment there too about building those positive communities. It's not always easy. Pre-social media, you kind of had whoever was in your neighborhood, and you might have some people that are cool and some people not so much. But here you can kind of curate, and that's another line I want to go down is curating your social media so that you're seeing that positive lane. But you can find people that that have similar interests, and you can kind of curate yourself to find those communities and build those communities of positivity. And just like Stephanie was saying about, it's such a cool thing when somebody comes back to you and says, hey, that really meant a lot to me. And and flip side is I love being able to say, hey, I really there was a poem that somebody had written in the writer's block group, and it really rung true to me. And I was just like, oh, this is perfect. This is great. I love this kind of stuff. And, building that kind of community and going around and spreading that. And also, just being able to grow and you find growth in yourself. And Amber, I want to ask you, you've now, I don't know if you sleep at night or not, because you seem to be one of the most busiest people on the planet, but in a good way. In addition to being the CEO of Ethyst, I mean, that's a whole other business. You are in so many spaces and such a positive force. And a lot of times when people see you in a space, they know, hey, this is going to be a powerful space. And you've been able to really spread a lot of positivity and joy on social media. So how has social media for you been? What are the positives that you've gotten out of it yourself and been able to spread to others?
Wow. Thank you for saying that, first and foremost. And, I'm very careful about how I curate what I'm spending my time and energy on. Obviously, like you said, I have a lot of different things moving in life, and not just professionally, personally, all kinds of stuff, right? Just like any other human. Mm-hmm. And I always say, you never really know how many hours are in a day until you start doing a lot of things and you figure out you can do a lot more than you think you can. Yeah. But that's it. I digress from that. I think one of the things that is, thanks, Kels. I think that, that honestly, one of the things that I find the most positive about this arena is, first of all, some of the connections that I think some of us have, and some of a few other extended people like within our group and whatnot. I think it is a phenomena, to be honest with you. I think that it doesn't always happen. I think groups of people get online together and it very quickly divulges into all kinds of drama and toxic situations. Yeah. For whatever reason, we have found a good, sound group of people that really are wanting to have each other's back, wanting to support each other, wanting to put, wanting to do right by one another, which you don't always see on the internet. So to me, quite frankly, it does feel like a phenomenon, and I'm super grateful for it. I think it's come together cosmically in a lot of different ways. And I could probably go on and on about that, about just the things we've even seen in the last couple months of our inners in our group and whatnot. But what I think is really incredible about social media and how you can utilize it properly is that there's a really good opportunity to be able to connect with people, to offer them wisdom, advice, knowledge, things that people need, right? So it's like, for example, for me, I get to run a business that prioritizes well-being and holistic wellness every single day. And it's something that I love and I'm passionate about and I've studied for years, and it's like, I want to share that information with people who find value in that information. So it's an easy way for me to connect with people who find value in what I have to offer. I'm not begging anybody to do anything or buy anything or, do any of that stuff. That's not the point. It's the idea that you have a really clean, very cool avenue of being able to reach a lot of people that you can connect with that find value in what you have to offer. So like for Stephanie, she's a writer and she's incredible at what she does, right? She's able to find a lot of different writers who are in different parts of their paths and whatnot, and she's able to do it here. She's able to do it here, unlike where she would maybe be able to do it on another platform. I think she'd probably agree with that. Most people would. So I think the reach and the opportunity for connection for people who find value in what you have to offer is huge. And then in that, you can find people, and you can really find, in your course, through a lot of discernment and a lot of cognizance and vigilance, you will find people that you can truly collaborate with on the outside in life, and you can bring projects to life, and you can do all kinds of stuff and help one another. So I think that that is probably the most positive thing that I see out of the platform. Additionally, I think, going back to what Stephanie was saying, that it's like, I can't tell you how many people have messaged me to say, thank you so much for the inspiration. Thank you so much for, the knowledge that you shared. Thank you so much for being a light. Thank you so much for your posts that you put up, or whatever it is. And it can just be a random one-off. And sometimes I think we don't even know, like, these are just people who are reaching out, but it's the seeds. It's the seeds that you can plant every single day. The possibility that you're changing somebody's life, the actual progress that you get to see in people's lives when you walk alongside them. I don't know. All of that is really cool to me.
I love it. I agree with everything you said there too. And sometimes we don't realize the effect we do have. I think that's why it's important to walk the walk all the time, because like without social media, you might, maybe just a smile at somebody at the grocery store, or, hey, how are you? You never know, that person might be having a terrible day, but then they felt noticed by you, and that turned everything around for them. But with social media, it's about reach too. You don't know how, like, there's somebody on the other side of the world that could just be really wondering if they're about their self-worth, and then they hear something, a conversation you had on Sips and Stories, or they heard some inspiration from Ben, or they, positively Chris, and Chris and I hooked up to do the Positive Mynds. This dude's from Nashville, I'm from Virginia Beach. There's, how are we gonna, collide or what have you? What are we gonna? How did we get together like this? And so I think there's kind of like a tool, is that it's how you use it, and that's kind of the question. And Chris, I want to start off with you about how do you, if it can be used for good, but there's the danger of what you consume is what it becomes, and how to curate your interactions, your engagement, how to curate your social media, whether it's X or whatever social media platform it is, how to curate it so that you're not getting into the, like Amber, like you said, like being careful not to get mixed up into the toxic side of social media, and how much of social media get blamed for what we really have control over. Chris, what are your thoughts on that, about curating your social media interactions?
And first off, thank you for having us here. These are all rock stars on this panel here. I want to shout out Ben, Stephanie, Amber, Myndrunner. Thank you so much. All three, all of you all are amazing. And I can't say enough positive things about all of you. And going to the question, Myndrunner, about how to curate, it goes back to what Stephanie said, right? About being intentional. That the intentionality goes a long way. Knowing before you go on to social media what your intention is. Like, are you looking to connect with the people who you deem most important to you, right? Are you looking to engage in a conversation of the day, whatever the topic of the day is? Are you looking to get involved in this conversation about this particular hot button topic? Like, there's a certain, I think, like what you said earlier, social media is a tool. It can be used for good. It can be used for not so good. And for me, I go on and I might post something kind of goofy, and Stephanie knows this. I think she's probably the most observant of all of you. Like, I see her commenting, she notices almost everything I post, which is amazing. I'll post something that's meant to be kind of like a jab, like a really goofy jab about something, and she'll hit the like button, and she might comment and say, that's funny, or she's a bit observant in what I just want to call her out for that, because I think that's really cool. You'll find people who really who get you, right? Who understand where you're going, and they want to be a part of that. And I think those are people who, again, all of you are kind of in that same kind of cosmic orbit. I think, Amber, we've talked about that, kind of like the cosmic alignment that kind of brought us all together is really, really freaking cool. But again, it just comes down to, again, that intentionality, right? That focus, that what do you want to do online today? And if you are mindful of what that is, I think you can find that your interactions can be really, really amazing on social media. And for me, yeah, I get exposed to the negativity. Sometimes I jump into it. Unfortunately, again, I'm learning to be a little better about that. But but more often than not, I can scroll past, or I can mute it out of my feed, or I can choose to not engage. Right. And I think that's the hard part for many of us, is choosing not to engage. And it's easy to engage on social media, because that's kind of, I think the intent is meant to be, it's where you have to kind of feel like conversation. So I think I've mentioned this before, something like on X, creating lists, like that way I can kind of really quickly at a glance see what people are talking about from our group here. Like, there's ways to do this that makes it more efficient and more effective with our time, because we have so much time in the day, only so much time in the day. Again, I don't know how some of you even find any sleep, or if any of you do sleep, but I think finding ways to use it for good, and it involves some sort of level of intentionality, is what I'll say.
Very well said. I agree wholeheartedly. And it's amazing that also you and Ben have the exact same house set up there. I just think that's, the same couch, same piano. I'm a marvel at how you're able to do that. And it's just, I'm very, very impressed. I want to give Stephanie her flowers too, because Stephanie and Ben both are, they dedicate themselves to that interaction. And I think sometimes we get, because there are folks on social media, on X and whatnot, they're there for engagement only. They want to just get their numbers up. They're not here for anything other than just, hey, I want more followers than following, and they look at the charts and graphs and all that kind of mess. And they're not here for substance. And that's not true for Stephanie and Ben and anybody and Amber and Chris. Is, the substance is what's important, and the actual interaction with people and making people feel seen and valued. And I know that everybody I'm talking to, everybody on this panel, if you're not already sick of my wrestling stuff, you've probably at least muted a couple of my posts. But it's fine. I try not to, I'm trying not to cloud all my mental health positivity stuff about. But it's like it's cool because I feel the support and the interaction. And I like, and even the corny jokes that some people post, and sometimes I'll post something corny, but I appreciate the support and the lulls for that. But Stephanie, kind of jumping off of what Chris was saying, how important is it to manage how you mentioned earlier about you got to almost have blinders on. Are you what you consume on social media? Does that become kind of how you perceive it? Convert and we'll get to like trolls and whatnot in a little bit, but how important is it to curate your timelines or your social media and focus on the quality of your content?
Well, there's a strategy to it for sure, but I have to give flowers to Amber because like, as far as like commenting, I think it was like early on, it was probably in a space, and because we have these parallel thinking, which we're so different in a lot of ways, but like the way we just like mentally align is weird. But cool weird, like super cool weird. But she had said something about like, she engages with everybody that comments on her post, regardless of who they are. She doesn't really like look at that. She doesn't look at people's numbers, and she's very thoughtful about that. And I saw that was true. Like she, and she's got a lot going on with her business, as do I. And so it was funny because I was doing that, but to have her say that, especially because her account was a little bit larger, so her engagement was a little bit larger. And I think this was even before I was at 500 or something. But I thought, because people were talking about like the strategy online, and Amber was almost like resistant to strategy in that way. Her strategy was just connect with people. And I was like, gosh, that's just so much my value. Like, that's the thing. So like, it's not that I'm curating to say, okay, like specific, I will curate for like writing. Like I love to be intentional about that because I have a writing community. So I open that community just to like encourage people to share their stuff. One of the things I do is if I know somebody's in the writer's block and I've connected with them and I see something in the feed that they've written, I'll share it with other writers, and just, I want to encourage that writer, you know, like, because it's hard to put yourself out there. So I'll be intentional that way. I think because what I like is positive things. I just automatically, that's what I seek out. So it's already going to be reflective. Then again, I will post on things that maybe are a little bit outside, especially if somebody that I'm connected to, they follow me or I follow them. Maybe they have an interest in something that isn't a direct interest of mine. But I
Like
also
professional
realize,
wrestling, right?
yeah, for instance, like I'm not going to comment on all of that, but because you matter, the things you like matter. And granted, if I post something and I comment on one of your wrestling posts, I'm going to get more wrestling stuff. But it's not so much for me that I don't have to keep focusing on wrestling just for that sake. But if it matters to you, I might, you know, be like, oh yeah, that's really cool, because that's what Myndrunner is doing. So in that, I'll be more people focused, but I can still be discerning enough to not like, it's not all of my interest. And I actually think I break the algorithm because my interests are so weird and varied. Like I'll like I like the Padres. So like I got Padres stuff coming in and they're probably like, I can't figure this girl out. And that's how I prefer it, because I'm really people based. So if people like something and I like those people, I'll probably like those things. However, I'll end it here. My strategy is in the morning, I like to share somebody's post. So I'll bookmark a post that I'll prepare for the morning and I'll prepare for the evening. Those are like the two that I really think of. And then I'll just do writing posts during the day. Or if I have a thought, I might write poetry. And that's just what I put on my feed. And then when I engage people that I'm connected to, I'll bookmark their posts, so that later in the day, when I actually have a block of time, I'll try to comment, or maybe I'll think, okay, other people would really love this too. I'm not going to post everything right now, but maybe I'll find a way to use this later because maybe it'll encourage somebody. Or if like Amber, like magnesium butter, if somebody like wants to go to sleep, I will tell them about magnesium butter, because honestly, like it knocks me out. So like, knowing what other people are interested in is a really that's my focus. So I guess that's what I would have to say. So that's pretty easy to keep a clean timeline of people I'm interested in, and then therefore I'm interested in what they're interested in. And if they're sickos, then maybe I have to talk with them and encourage them to not be such sickos. I'm just kidding. I don't know. There could be.
Well, let's hold that up again, Chris. We had a quick little impromptu sponsorship made from real magnesium cows. We got the magnesium body butter. Order it on ethyst.com. You want to make sure, and always, as New York Sports Media says, always baste your steak with magnesium butter. You are right on there. Absolutely.
Don't do that, Amber says.
Don't do that. Do not.
Go
All right,
on,
let's
Amber,
get Amber
and
on
tell-
here. Amber says do not. In fact, we might need to put that as a warning. Do we need that as a warning label? Now, Amber, tell us a little bit about your philosophy with engagement and how, you know, like separating from, because there's a lot of people that talk about, oh, you got to make sure that you engage with big accounts and this, that, and the other thing. And you got to have your charts and graphs. And on every Tuesday when the moon is full, you've got to, you know, make sure you delete all your retweets. Like, what about you? What is your take on engagement and getting and curating your stuff so that you get the most out of it?
Yeah, I bet all the big accounts do want you to reply to them for sure. I do what I want. Like in life, I do what I want. And don't listen to anybody's nonsense. Yeah, it's like I always have. I found success right off the bat getting on X. When I got on X last June, I was connected to 11 people. And I just started talking to people. And the more I talked to people, the more I connected, the more people were connecting with me. And then I was like, okay, well, this seems to be how this is rocking. So I have the entire time, the only thing I've ever done that anybody has ever said is gotten myself out of the nether, because I was at one point in the nether, and praise Jesus for Brock and Shane who helped me get out of the nether. And then that is really the only thing that at one point when all of that was like really heightened, I was like, so like, okay, don't talk to anybody in that show more section, because I was like traumatized from having been stuck inside of the shadow realm. But I otherwise have not done any of the stuff that anybody has really said to do. I think it's ridiculous. I thought that especially like when people were walking around. I just picture people like in like the halls of something for whatever reason at Onyx. I don't know what it is, but it correlates with me. But basically, just going around telling people that they shouldn't, interact with anybody who has less than 500 followers. I was like, what? How are they ever going to get more than 500 followers if people don't interact with them? That is so chintzy. That is an awful thing to say. Matter of fact, Steve N will tell you that when I met him, he was a tiny little account, and I was like, I just was whatever. We just had a joke going with him, right? To be like, everybody should follow Steve N. Everybody should like connect to Steve N. And that's like honestly how he ended up growing his account at first, right? So in reality, to me, it's like, I don't understand why anybody would tell you that you need to not engage and not connect with people. I've never had a problem doing it. It's never done anything to my account aside from when we were inside of the weird shadow realm era, which quite frankly, I don't even think really matters as much anymore. I don't go to my posts. Like when I get notifications, I just answer from my notifications, because if I get a notification from you, I'm connected to you probably because I have my notifications like turned off. Like I don't have like message requests. I don't have like anything like that. So if I'm connected to you, I'm going to respond to you. And if you're in the show more, it is what it is, I guess. You know what I mean? I just never have prescribed to any of the narratives that anybody has put out, aside from helping myself get out of that situation. And again, thank you to Brock and Shane for that, because they really went the extra mile helping people do that when that whole era was going on. And thank God we don't really have to deal. I know. Thank God we don't really have to deal with that anymore. Right. So I don't know. My advice to people when it comes to engagement would be to engage. That's the whole reason for the platform. It's like connect with people, talk to people. If somebody is taking the time out of their day to make a comment to you, show that some respect. People don't have to comment to you. People don't have to like your stuff. People don't have to repost you. You can say that in all of the world that because you have 400,000 followers or whatever, that people should just do it for you. That's not true. That people are taking time and energy out of thanks, Blaze. It's like people are taking time and energy out of their day to show you some kind of interaction. That's not something that I personally take lightly, and I would say that other people should really respect that people are taking the time to do that, because otherwise I think in the long run most people are going to fall off. Most people are going to come to the conclusion like, I comment to this person all the time and they never say anything to me. And while I get it, trust me, and I'm sure Chris can attest to this too, once you get bigger in numbers, you do get a ton of notifications. Sometimes stuff like flies away and you don't necessarily know that it's there. But I mean, if you're never connecting or engaging with people, you're just kind of throwing stuff out into the ether and expecting people to continue to do that forever, I would say that that's probably not going to happen. And it's definitely, in my opinion, not the way to go about utilizing the platform.
Ben, you have a wonderful reputation of responding to a lot of people as a jet flies over my house. How do you use discernment in your interactions, and more so, like, it seems like you all share everybody else's philosophy, but on the flip side, how do you avoid like the stepping into conversations where people might start to go negative, and how do you curate your interactions online?
Yeah. So for me, it's pretty simple. I tend to interact with people that believe very similar to what I do. So as long as you're kind and positive, I will interact with you regardless. It doesn't really matter. Chris and Stephanie knows, we don't always agree on everything. Well, actually everyone here, we don't always agree on everything, but you have to put that aside because friendship is superior than everything else. So, you know, and I'm just gonna use sports teams. Okay, we may all root for different sports teams, but you have, at the end of the day, you have to put that aside, because what's most important, it's the friendship. So when I kind of look at interactions, here's the thing. I really just kind of look at how you are with other people. So as long as you're kind and you're respectful and you're positive, I'm interacting with you regardless. It doesn't matter. In the same sense, I hope that you are doing the same for me. Okay, so it's a kind of like a two-way conduit street. So, you know, it's you have to kind of be authentic, and you have to be genuine. Okay, so, you know, I'm hoping that what you are on this platform, if you're kind and positive, that you're also that IRL in real life, because that's going to show people who you really are and who you are as a person. So, you know, when I interact, you know, I am really authentic with, you know, interacting with people that I can trust, and interacting with people that I know has the best heart and the kindness that, you know, we need in the world. And, you know, for me, I don't really look at the numbers. I don't, you know, I interact with big accounts, I interact with small accounts. To me, it really doesn't, you know, because I think that works really well. It's just interacting with people in general. And the thing is, the best interactions, honestly, was, from what I've noticed, was, you know, when I first came onto this platform, I was a nobody. I mean, you know, I came back here last year. You know, I was struggling. You know, I came on, I fell into the trap of, you know, follow for follow, you know, kind of how like, okay, well, I follow you, you follow me, you know, that's and that. And I didn't really want to do that anymore. That didn't make me happy. I'm like, I'm not here for the number aspect. You know, I much rather prefer the genuine friendships. And, you know, I steered far away from, you know, that. And then I focused more on just being who I am and being myself. And, you know, for a better part of, I would say, you know, I really, from the time I was probably 19 to about now, was where I really took a huge shift in terms of really wanting to put more of a positive aspect into the world. So, you know, I think for me, you know, X does a great job of that, because, you know, we all interact with each other. You know, we can either be from Massachusetts, we can be from Tennessee, we can be from, you know, Virginia, you know, some of us are from Mississippi, Washington, California, and so on and so forth. But, you know, it doesn't really matter where you are in the world. This is where we connect, and this is where we belong. So that's kind of how I kind of look at the interactions from my perspective. It's, you know, interact with your tribe and interact with people that you genuinely care and support. And like Amber said, you know, no one is required to like your comments. No one is required to like your post. No one is required to share your post. It's not an expectation, but if they do it, that means it resonates with them, and that means it means so much to them. And, you know, don't focus too much on that. Focus more on what makes you happy and what brings you so much joy on this platform. And I think that is, you know, the most important. So yeah, that's kind of where I'll dock my submarine.
You'll dock your submarine. That's the new land. There is the dock. I'll dock my submarine. Excellent. No, and I think you make very very good points too. And you use the word genuine a lot. And I think that there's a thirst for genuine people on social media, because you know, it doesn't take long for you to realize somebody's kind of, you know, faking out. And like you'll see somebody that's you like you said, yeah, that's just here for engagement, or looking for more genuine and positive people. And the flip side, though, too, is also true, is we're not required to seek out each other's stuff. But that's why when somebody does respond to something that you post, it's you should give it the due attention that you like. No one's entitled to likes. You know, of course, I always find that like the stuff that I really put a lot of effort in doesn't get anything, and then I'll make some obscure comment and it blows up, and I'm like, why did my stupid dad joke get all the likes, and then my very thought provoking thing that I'm really serious about, I might get a hey, okay, I agree. But you know, that's the nature of. Plus, like you said, like our outside of social media lives sometimes can take hold. Like I've been sporadic on X in the last few months, just with everything else going on with me, and so it's like it's tough to stay on top of everything. But I think you're right about, you know, if you curate that if you curate that genuine group of people, you like the Avengers of positivity, if you will. I think there is that divine magnet that pulls people together for reasons. And I think that if you're I think, and you correct me if you guys think I'm wrong, but I feel like if you're seeking a conflict, if you're seeking an argument, if you're seeking to dunk on people, then that's the environment you're going to go towards. But if you're seeking positivity, if you're seeking fellowship, friendship, gratitude, and genuine people, if you're truly seeking that out, eventually you'll find it, and you're going to kiss some frogs before you get there. But I feel like the group of people that are here are those genuine frogs, if you will, genuine frogs. Now, I do know that life can be stressful, and a lot of times we get a little bit parched, if you will, with the day-to-days. But I've got great news for everybody. We do have a sponsor that will quench that thirst. So if you ever no, Chris, no. Well, we have nourishment. We do. Now we like to have fun. I mean, again, we can talk a little bit about sense of humor and things getting lost and funny stuff. But we do have a sponsor here, a cider company, and they actually have a new line of hard cider that they'd like to share with us. And again, this is, ladies and gentlemen, let's hear from our sponsor.
Hey there, Positive Mynds listeners. It's time for a special message from our friends at Dickens Brew. Looking for something refreshing, invigorating, and simply irresistible? Something to bring a bit of spark and excitement to your special lady? Need to blow off some stress after a long day at work? Why not try a hard Dickens cider? Picture this, a drink so satisfying, so delightful that suburban moms are choosing to have a Dickens cider over their expensive wines. Yes, you heard that correctly. With the Dickens cider, you can stay in and enjoy the cozy comfort of your own home with a drink that's simply unparalleled. And let's talk about refreshment. Nothing beats the crisp, satisfying feeling of a hard Dickens cider. It's the perfect way to unwind after a long day or add a spark to your weekend gathering. But wait, there's more. Dickens is thrilled to introduce their newest product, Floppy Dickens Cider Gummies. That's right, now you can enjoy that same Dickens cider feeling in a fun and chewy gummy form. It's like happiness in every bite. So why wait? Treat yourself to the ultimate refreshment experience with Dickens cider. Whether you're enjoying a Dickens cider after work or a floppy Dickens cider to ease your stress, you're in for a treat. And here's the best part. Just for being a listener of Positive Mind, you can enjoy a Dickens cider on us. Simply listen to this podcast and come claim your Dickens cider reward. Cheers to that. Thanks for tuning in, Positive Minds community. And remember, when it comes to refreshment, nothing beats a Dickens cider moment. Cheers.
And shout out to our narrator, Ben, the Stash King. What a great voiceover that was. Ben, totally bravo. Let's give Ben his flowers for that for representing our sponsorship. Ben, there were a couple moments where I felt like you almost stumbled a little bit. I could tell a little bit laughter, but you kept it professional. And that's what I love about you, bud, is that you kept it professional.
I tried, man. I tried. It was difficult for me to get through that. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it, but I did it for you guys, for sure.
Oh, we appreciate it. And the sponsors appreciate it. And we're happy to have you working with us on our sponsorship. I wonder if we could create a similar commercial for Ethyst products. I mean, I'm wondering if, definitely the magnesium butter, we need to make sure that you use it properly. You do not baste your steaks with magnesium butter.
Right.
We need to definitely work on that. I do want to talk a little bit though about when things get lost in translation on X. Like, for example, in New England and specifically around Boston, there's an attitude. I've noticed this where, because I have my dad's side of the family is all New Englanders and my mom's side of the family are all Southerners. And one of the clashes I've noticed is where my dad's side of the family, especially around the Boston area, we have this thing called the Boston hug. And this is kind of a term we've used where when somebody likes you, they tend to bust your chops a little bit. Like they'll go, hey, there's Aaron, what's going on? Hey, you've been putting down those Twinkies, haven't you? That kind of stuff. And to somebody that's not used to that kind of interaction, it can come off as offensive. And I've noticed online sometimes that intention sometimes gets lost in the text. And then, you know, it went back when people were just texting with their thumbs, I could see that too. But how do you cut, what are ways to get around, and how do we avoid misreading each other's post? And do you feel like sometimes we might read too much into posts? Because I've had situations where I've posted something that I felt innocuous about, and then I got a private message from somebody saying, "Hey, what's your problem with me?" And I'm like, "Nothing." And then I find out everything's cool. And on the flip side, there's been times where I've read into stuff like, and a lot of times it's like something I'm going through, and I read something and I take it the wrong way, and I find out I was completely way off. I'll start with Amber. What are your thoughts on, like, have you seen that? Have you seen those, like, that miscommunication? What are some ways we can avoid it? And, or is it just sometimes you just got to step back and tell yourself it's not about you?
Oh man, this is a loaded question, but I think, first and foremost, you just have to read everything that you see with the idea that the other person has the best intentions. Like, they're not trying to, you just gotta, a lot of people assume too much, you know what I mean? Like, they just assume. This is like a problem for me. I was talking about this the other night in a space, like, where it's like, sometimes my humor gets so dry that, like, people don't know if I'm joking or not. And then so, like, sometimes I'll throw up the, like, emoji after I'm done talking. And then they were like, no, don't do that. That's what makes it funny, that people don't know or whatever. But I'm like, all right, sometimes I just feel bad because I'm like, yeah, I'm just trying to, you know what I mean? I'm just trying to, like, convey what's what. I think that there is, and I'm from Massachusetts, so, like, let's be real. My sarcasm and my all of that is, like, top tier. You know
The
what I mean?
sarcasm is strong with this one.
Yeah, like, when I moved to California, I had to, like, right, take it way down because I was like, people do not get that here. I think that the first thing, like I said, is, like, read everything with, the idea that the person has the best intentions. Secondly, know that there are a lot of people on the internet that just love to say stuff, to say it, just to try to get a rise out of you. I can't even tell you how many comments and different things that I've gotten, hence why all my notifications are turned off. I don't have message requests. Like, y'all can go ahead and hang out in the nether, you know what I'm saying? Like, because it's like, I don't know, I don't see it. That's the best thing in the world. It's like when you go out and you put a comment on some big post, and then all of a sudden you go back and you have like 200,000 impressions on the post, and there's like a million people saying stuff, and you're like, I never saw any of this, and you're just like, it's how I sleep at night, that and magnesium, okay? Like, I just am like, don't even know what you said, don't care. So that's the other thing. I think that there's, recognize that there's people that just want to say stuff to say stuff. I think also too, for each one of us, it's don't talk about people. Point blank. Don't talk about people. Don't talk about people in DMs. Don't talk about people in text. Don't talk about people to other people. Don't talk about people. Like, I am people can, I'll tell you right now, I've said it a ton of times. No one can bring up any kind of message that I've ever said anything about anybody, because I will not do that. First of all, I don't have the time or the energy for that. That's, like, not something that I want to do. Secondly, that is going to come back to bite you. And what happens is that, say, for example, so I'll give you an example of what I mean. Why not to do this? Why I'm bringing this to this is because, say, for example, you become the person that everybody knows that is, talking about people in DMs. And there's a lot of people, right? And then all of a sudden you say something to someone on their post, and that person is like, oh, that person is just like a trash talker. You know what I mean? And now here they are trying to come at me. It's automatic. It's automatic assumption when people operate in that way, that's they're always operating in that way. And then it's like, and then you get into the toxic situations with people. Me, I don't pay attention to anything. I just don't care. Like, people can do whatever they want. They can say whatever they want to whomever they want. And that's between them. I personally am not going to get involved in anybody's, like, nonsense. I'm not going to you're never going to catch me saying anything about anybody. That's just a fact. And it's like, I'm going to take everything with a grain of salt because it's the internet. Like, as much as, like, I always try to advocate for the idea that the internet is real life. And I do believe that that is the case, because I believe, like, right now, you guys, we're all on the internet, right? There's 100 and some odd people that have been watching us on the internet this entire time. We're all sitting here in our different, collective spaces. We are all of us, the people watching, the people commenting, us talking, we are all living our physical lives right now, but we are connecting digitally. So I think that in reality, our lives are real life, but there's a physical life and there is a digital life, right? And it's like a lot of times those are colliding. Now, the reason why I say that is because I feel like people need to recognize that that's the case, because they need to treat people the way that they would treat them in their physical lives. Most people wouldn't walk up to somebody and just say some random thing to a person in their physical life, right? But they're real quick to do it on the internet. So that's why I like to preach that, because I'm like, listen, this is not a faux situation that we're in. This is real life. However, at the same time, it is the internet, and there's a lot of people who are out there still operating as if it's the old internet, right? Like on an Anon account, they want to trash you until you come to a burning point. Like, I don't know. So intention, think everybody has good intentions. Don't talk about people and just ignore all the stuff that's like anything that is quote bothersome to you. I'm like, that's really where I would land that.
Keep my name out your mouth. Like,
Yeah,
you're gonna pull a Will Smith on somebody. But you bring up two really awesome points, and like I some of the stuff you're talking about, it reminds me of like in a work setting. Like when I was at my old school building, we had a group of teachers called the Mean Girls, and they would just trash every teacher. And like one of the things, and they would come to me and gripe about somebody else. But then my thought was this: what are they saying about me to somebody else? And that's one of the things that happens is the people that go around saying, "Hey, did you hear what so and so said?" And then what does that tell you? And what does that tell you about that person? Like you almost start to think, well, why are you telling me this? And then like sometimes like, hey, did you know this do you know what, like if somebody tells somebody else something in confidence, and then that person goes and tells somebody else, hey, did you hear what this person is going through a breakup, or this person is, has this going on, then that person's not trustworthy. To pull back some of that trust that you've put into them. And I think that's tremendous. But the other side of it too is, like you said, is we don't have time. Ain't nobody got time for that. It's like, ain't nobody got time for that. I got bronchitis, so nobody got time for that. And I think that's when the people that do that, sometimes they, my thought is this, is if you have a beef with somebody, instead of complaining to somebody else, go to them, and there's I won't name any names, but I've actually had somebody in our group that came to me because they felt I had an issue with them, and I didn't, and took me by surprise, because it was one of those miscommunication things where I totally didn't even realize what I had said made them feel that way. And then we had a laugh about it, and we're really cool. I think we're really cool now. I hope. I don't know. But it's one of those things. If you ever have an issue with somebody, go to them, and then you might also find the other side of the story. You might find a whole different thing going on. But yeah, and be careful of folks that just want to stir some stuff up. If somebody comes running to you with, hey, let me tell you what Stephanie said. Oh, you're not gonna believe what Stephanie said about Ben. You got to ask yourself, well, why are you telling me this? And that's, I think that's important, and you got to be careful about that kind of stuff. Positively, Chris, what are your thoughts on what was said?
Yeah, I think everything that Amber just said, spot on. It's better to just kind of operate in your own area, right? And I think Stephanie also mentioned it too, which was, you have to focus on what you want to put out into the world, and not speaking about other people goes a long way, right? You're never going to be pulled into those conversations about, can you believe what Chris said about X, Y, and Z? if I'm not putting any of that out there in private, then it's never going to be said, right? Or there's not going to be any receipts, any proof, right? And so that's the thing, is that if you just keep those, you know, other people's names out of your mouth, then you'll never end up in those conversations. And I think that goes a long way on social media, especially because if people sometimes, you know, if they take something that was said maybe out of context. You mentioned, I mean, the whole point of this was, you know, what do you do when something gets lost in translation? I mean, it's sometimes easy to say, well, this is what you said and this is what you believe, and it's like, wait a minute, like you didn't get the second layer of this conversation. You didn't get the extra understanding that I have, right? You didn't get that because I didn't share that with you. So I think the point is this, is that it's important to be mindful of where you're spending your energy, your energy and your time. Those are limited resources. And on social media, if you're putting them in an area that really ultimately uplifts others and uplifts yourself, then you're doing something right. I think if you're seeking, you know, social media as a way to divide other people, to cause kind of conflict, I think that's kind of a different area where maybe, you know, you want, that's fine. Again, it's a tool, you can use it however you want to. I'm not using it that way. I will say this, though, translation thing, at least it happened to me twice in the past 24 hours on social media where somebody posted something and I was like, oh, but what about this? And they're like, that's not what I meant. And at least one of the panelists here knows what I'm talking about, where it was like, hey, like, but what about this? And they're like, no, that's not what I meant. But it's the thing, like, where sometimes we think we kind of place our own perspectives on top of what's said and assume that that's what's meant. And sometimes we can even delude ourselves, get a little misled, I would say.
I want to jump off, and I agree with what you said there, especially the digital bit at the end. I want to key also something that I wanted to say in response to Amber as well, was the concept of assuming positive intent. Or you and I have talked about this on Positive Mynds, that a lot of times I think one of the things we can guard ourselves against misreading people is having the attitude of assume positive intent or positive, you know, a positive intentions with what's posted. Now that eventually the troll's going to troll, and eventually if you'll start to figure out who's an honest player and who's not. You'll start to see, oh, this is what this person has done. But if you when somebody, just like, let's say, you know, Stephanie posts something that I take the wrong way, I might have to, it's on me to step back and go, all right, well, maybe she, you know, I know Stephanie and I know how she is, and she's very positive, and I don't, it doesn't make sense to me that she would say something like this, and then I assume the positive intent, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, she meant this, blah blah blah, that kind of thing. So I think assuming, if you take the stance of assuming positive intent, you run a less chance of, and then I'm speaking for myself, I have to remind myself of this, is sometimes it helps you not take things the wrong way. It's not foolproof, but I think it, you know, like Blaze is saying, intention allows you to hold yourself accountable. I think so. That's a great quote as well. Stephanie, your thoughts on all of it, like just kind of that, you know, avoiding the toxicity, avoiding the gossipy behind the scenes kind of stuff, but on the flip side of, you know, making sure you don't lose things in translation online.
Oh, I create a lot of I create a lot of that as a writer. I write a lot of things. So I think actually Chris had mentioned this before, and he's right. Like, nuance is hard with online. But if we go back to like what Amber and I were both kind of talking about as far as engagement, the first line of any sentence is just the beginning of the conversation. And if somebody comments to you, it's the continuation of that conversation. Like, there is nuance to what people say. And because we're more than what we are online, there's a lot of things that we pull from. So it's really easy to sometimes feel so personal about things. And I will sometimes comment from my perspective, because one, I don't like to put people's names on things. I'm not calling anybody out, but I observe. And so through my observation, I'll sometimes be broad and I'll make a statement that is broad, and it can seem really personal. And people who know me will be like, oh, like, are you okay? And I'm like, I'm like totally okay. But I don't mind that. Like, I don't mind nuance, because people I care about, I will engage and tell them the truth. Like, I'll be honest with them. And I think that that's also the thing, is we need to be just honest. We need to be truthful with each other. But when it comes to like misunderstanding, I know like some people will like come at you, or they're intentionally misunderstanding you. And I don't think just misunderstanding somebody is the problem. Like, I think if you have a relationship, even on social media, if you have like an understanding of somebody, you can have a conversation. And that's really easy to overcome miscommunication, is if you're willing to be honest, and because you care about somebody, you're going to like ask those questions and you're going to engage with them. And so that's beautiful. Like, I love when that happens, because we should have conversations. We should dig deeper on certain things, not on everything. Some things are silly. Like, what's your best dad joke? Like, that's like a silly question that you can talk about online, and those are fun. But social media is very complicated when it comes to nuance. However, people that will come at you, and they don't know you, and they're negative. I find that there's a couple of rules. It's my stoic response toolkit. First, always agree. Not always, but like, start with agreement. Start where you agree with that person, and find a way to then express your disagreement. So like, if you feel disagreement with what somebody's saying, first start in the mindset, like, how do you maybe agree with them? Or are they saying something that you hadn't considered? And is it really a disagreement, or is this really their opinion? And maybe they're not being honest with it. Maybe they're just trolling you. But start there first, and that will open up a door for an honest conversation. If it's not going to be an honest conversation, and then they're a troll, well, then you find that out too. And so then you can be like, okay, done. No more on this conversation. But if somebody's sincere, they'll engage with you. So that's kind of one of my first toolkits. The second one is, if you're going to be mean to me, I don't care. Like, roast me. Okay. And then I think I've said this before. So you think that you think I'm ugly. Oh, yeah. Well, you should see me when I wake up on Sundays. Like, I'll go further. Like, I'll take the joke further. Like, I don't care. It's funny. Like, you think you're going to hurt my feelings? Probably not, because I'll just find the humor in it, and I'll like use that. Like, that's my armor. Like, I don't care. Like, I don't know you well enough to like make that matter. Now, if my friends say that, I'd be like, what do you mean? Like, what are you talking about? But like, I just think like, find the humor in it, and don't let people rob you of something they don't have the right to. I think that's the thing. Like, allowing people into that inner circle, like, just because they're online and they just commented for the first time on anything that you wrote. Like, why are you allowing people that power over you? Like, why are you allowing people to dictate your mood? I mean, and honestly, offer grace too. Like, I think that we see people do something and we just write them off. Like, okay, do you want people to treat you that way? Like, because you could be misunderstood and they'll write you off too. Like, maybe you had a bad day and you said something you didn't mean to. Offer grace as much as you possibly can. I mean, I'm not saying that you have to trust somebody, that you have to continue to like hang out with that person. But again, we don't know what people are going through. You don't know what I'm going through. I don't know what you guys are going through, but we're humans and we're going through it. And so like, a little bit of grace goes a long way. And I think being positive, I know there's a lot of people that don't like me because they don't trust that I'm actually kind. I deal with that. Like, I've had people really just like hate me because I think they misunderstand kindness, or they've
You're
not
too kind.
experienced it. Well, kind of, but I think it's also because a lot of people haven't experienced true kindness, or they've been betrayed, or they've been hurt. And that's a part of people we don't always understand. And that comes out sometimes in like negative responses. So that's where we offer grace, because you don't really know if somebody's never felt what it's like when somebody's truly kind. How are they going to recognize that? Or if they've been betrayed, how are they going to recognize true friendship? It's going to take a lot of healing that maybe we don't have the capacity for. And so I just realized that it's not always about me. I think we've said this. And so I just offer that grace because I can't really solve everybody's hurts and problems. But if I'm graceful and just me, and I am sincerely kind, I try to be. I don't, I have bad days too, but like I try to be. And I have to also understand that some people don't know what that looks like. They've not experienced it. And I haven't experienced a lot of kindness in my childhood. So like I'm kind as a result of that. Like sometimes when I've dealt with the bullies in my life, I knew I never wanted to be like that. I want to be the opposite of the unkindness I've experienced, and maybe even more so. So sometimes that's like another thing, like I've used that as like my strength. And because I've seen the weakness on the other side when other people use that as defense. So this is complicated, but anyways, be gracious,
No,
be
good
kind.
stuff.
Yeah, be gracious and be kind. I think that's, and yeah, that grace is big.
Well, all of this would be fantastic to handle some of my family gatherings, especially when politics come up. I just go yes, and well, let me hear your side of the story, that kind of thing. But I think ultimately, I think you're absolutely right too. Is if you know if the person matters to you, then you know their perspective, and we've heard the phrase "hurt people hurt people." And I've seen that, like, in a lot of times when somebody's lashing out about somebody else or something, it's really because there's something like an insecurity with them, like a mistrust or something. Like I've had when with my students, like a lot of times, I'll get the bad kid that they'll say, oh, here, you're going to get this bad student. And I come to find out that it's like you said, this is a student that nobody believed in, and so they feel like they're, what's the point? But then it's not easy because it's usually like months and months of earning trust. But eventually you start to show them that thing, and it's like I think sometimes I've experienced it online. I'm not going to name names, but I've met folks that came at me very prickly, almost like they were trying to get a rise out of me, and I just had a conversation with them, and they start to see my side, and I start to find out that they're not a bad person. They're just used to the conflict. They're used to the dunking on mentality of social media, and they're not used to somebody like taking what they're this prickly side to them and going, oh yeah, okay, that kind of thing. And so it's I think there is a lot to that, but I love the quote that we saw in the comments earlier. It was just from Kelspiration. I don't know you well enough to make it matter. Exactly. If you let somebody you don't know wreck your day, you're giving power to their words. And there's you're giving their words power over you. So why care if they're not somebody you care about? Now, if one of the four of you think I'm a scumbag, that bothers me. But like if it was Joe Blow from so and so, kick rocks. I don't know you. Go get out of here. That's what I'm talking about. We got to close up. Wish we could continue this for 6 hours, but I know one of us has got a plane to catch, and we've got all kinds of things going on today, and I know we've got all busy schedules. But I want to close. I want to start with Benjamin, but I want to take a fortune cookie takeaway from each one of us. Just a more than just a little bit more than a fortune cookie. So just be thinking of like one small little nugget of advice you want to give everybody out there. We have almost 174. We have 173 viewers. Great job. This is awesome. And then people watching on the replays. What one little nugget of advice, fortune cookie advice for everybody with regards to what we talked about today? And Ben, I'm going to put you on the spot as our awesome narrator, our Don Pardo, our Shadow Stevens, our Morgan Freeman, our and all the rest voice actors there. What would be, and let's go ahead and start with our fortune cookie take. And it's my understanding that fortune cookies are actually an American invention, that it was just a commercialization in the United States. It's kind of an interesting fact. But go ahead, Ben, your fortune cookie takeaway.
I would say this, of course, live your life with authenticity and genuinity, we mentioned earlier. But, the biggest takeaway is check in on your loved ones. And I will always say this, check in on, people that you love and support, family, friends, mentors, coworkers, so on and so forth. You never know what they're going through. And the most important thing is, we are not guaranteed tomorrow. We are not guaranteed another day. We don't know. So what can you do? Well, we can check in for each other. So if you're not hearing from someone after maybe, let's say you keep in touch regularly and you don't hear from them after a few days, check in and see how they're doing. Maybe they're busy, but we don't know, but do it with intentionality where, make it a habit of checking in, right? So whether that's a phone call, a text, and then if you live close enough and you can visit, that's perfect, right? So, make a concerted effort to, show your love and support and care. And I would say that's the one biggest key takeaway. But for me, I just really appreciate being on here. I do actually have to take off. So thank you guys so much for having me, and we'll talk soon. Take care, guys.
Absolutely, Ben. Thank you so much. Thanks for hanging with us. Awesome to have you as always. The velvet voice of Ben. So awesome. And I'm looking forward to his next commercial, which may or may not have to do with magnesium butter. We'll have to find out. I'll tie out with you later, Amber. But Stephanie, your fortune cookie takeaway.
Be kind and give grace. Like, please, just that's going to do a lot. Just be graceful, be kind.
Be kind, be graceful. Love it. And Amber, your fortune cookie takeaway?
Mine seems to say that you will be hungry again in 1 hour.
Or that's not chicken.
I would say don't talk about people. Like, don't waste your time and energy.
Yeah.
Really seriously think about how your time and energy is your only resource. Seriously, those are your resources. That's it.
Yeah.
You can think about all the other stuff, but in reality, that's what we really have as humans. Spend them well.
Mm-hmm. Spend them well. And make sure, and there's always room for forgiveness as well, too. There's always, because we all bump our heads and have bad days. We can always move on as well. But, he is back. I'll bring in Positively Chris. Positively Chris, your fortune cookie advice.
Yep. Can you hear me? Good. I think what I would say is this. I'll make it quick. It comes down to acknowledge the people who are around you and who support you, and give them thanks. I don't think I do a good enough job of this, so that's why I'm calling out myself. But I want to thank all of you for your support and your encouragement and your just influence on my life and on my social media presence. Having you all part of that goes a long way for me. It keeps me buoyant, especially when times get tough. My name has the word positive in it, but it's not the only emotion I feel. I don't only feel positivity. I feel a lot more than that. And on a day-to-day basis, I go through struggles. I go through adversity. I fail all the time. I'm wrong all the time. I make mistakes. And so there's going to be, I think there needs to be more, I think, of that encouragement and thanks. I think that the question of gratitude to others. And I think on social media, Ben does a great job of this. I know he's not here on the panel anymore. Ben regularly shouts out people who have influenced him. And I think it's a fantastic habit. And I encourage us to just help encourage others who have influenced us.
Excellent. Well, I am thrilled. This panel, we're actually getting feedback from everybody saying this panel was so awesome. I agree. When you assemble the most positive people, and I'm not saying this is it. There's Blaze, there's Kelspiration. There's a number of people in the chat that are also very positive and everything. My fortune cookie is, I think I just want to, mine's going to be all of yours wrapped into one. And of course, also my fortune cookie says that wasn't chicken, but also say just, be cool to one another and party on, dudes. Now go out and get your little pinhole paper and take a look at the eclipse, and have a great week. And well, we're going to do this again. I think this would be awesome. I'd love to get this panel back again and continue these kind of discussions. Anyways, on behalf of Amber, Champagne, Positively, Chris, Stephanie, and the traveling Ben, this is Myndrunner signing off. And we love you guys, and we'll see you next time.